flying high over Macho Grande. Over Macho Grande? It's the IGN Digigods. Now please welcome two men who love it when you call them Shirley, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
Oh, don't call me Shirley. Corey, who gave us the airplane reference?
That was brought to you by Lance Taylor. Lance Taylor.
Oh, Corey makes me laugh every week. Corey, shout out to you. Thank you for being you. I love every time Corey takes a picture of himself or a food or something. He's one of the most entertaining Facebook people I know. He really is.
He's very angry.
His Facebook feed is just like one giant It's like one big Lenny Bruce stand-up routine.
Okay.
It's like Patton Oswalt meets Lenny Bruce or something. It's very entertaining.
In that case, we actually have greatness recording our podcast opens.
We sure do. So we want to remind everybody the Oscar office pool is open, or the Oscar Digigods pool at funofficepools.com. Funofficepools.com. You got to go. You got to sign in. Got to register. Do the whole deal. It takes literally 15 seconds. It's no big deal. And you want to look for the group The Digigods, 2 words, and the password is Lars von Trier. LarsVonTrier, all lowercase, all one word, no spaces. Lars von Trier is the password. And we're putting together a nice swag package for whoever wins this thing, and it's going to be good. Everybody gets to kind of... Mark and I, we're not eligible to win, but you get to see how you do against us, and you'll probably...
I'm terrible at these things, by the way. I am terrible at all competitive events. Video games, that doesn't matter what office pools.
There have been... Honestly, it's a crapshoot. You know, I am as adept at running the numbers as any Oscar prognosticator. Prognosticator. But even then, there are years where you just go, what? I mean, you remember, there was the year, big party at your place, everybody thought, oh, Brokeback Mountain, Wade, your crazy Crash doesn't have a chance. And do you remember how that transpired? I stood there in that room. You and Norman and everybody else were just stunned when they announced Crash, and I did this.
Yeah, because you thought to yourself, because it's an actor's film and the actors branch supported it.
It won. It was the water cooler movie for 7 months.
That thing sucked.
And I love that movie. I love it because that's the Los Angeles I live in. I don't know about you, but that's the LA I live in.
No, you live on a hill in a big home.
No, I
live
don't.
in a dump.
That's the Los Angeles I've known my whole life.
By the way, the only thing I remember about me throwing the one and only Oscar, actually the one and only Oscar party I threw when I lived in Santa Monica, where I lived for 15 years, it was one of the first years, not the first year, but one of the first years of high def.
Yes, true.
So they were broadcasting the red carpet in high def. And all the women who showed up to the party, including your soon-to-be wife, were like, oh, my God, Nicole Kidman, I want to see what she looks like. They were standing like 3 inches from the screen to try to pick out every pimple on Nicole Kidman's face.
But I'll tell you, for every year like that where I feel like, hey, I got 21 out of 24 categories, then there'll be a year where I get 9. And you throw your hands up because some years it's easy to pick them and other years it isn't, and there are always upsets. The Academy always throws a curveball at you. So
and by the way, I just want to put it out there to the listeners of the Digigods podcast. Yes. If you beat us, it does not mean you get to take over the show.
I don't know about that. Mark, your favorite director of all time?
Yep. His name has a grand total of 7 letters in it, and yet each one of those letters is more exciting than the last. Mm-hmm. Uwe Boll.
There you go.
Now, what we have here to start the show, because we really want to start, we really want to start at the bottom so we can work our way up, is we have 2 DVDs. They're Uwe Boll Presents films. One is called Raging Boll: 6 Ruthless Critics versus 1 Furious Filmmaker. Now, as you might know, Uwe Boll, he gets his movies ripped a lot. And so in 2006, he gave his critics a chance to settle their differences in the boxing ring.
A dreadful human being.
And, he wound up in a boxing ring with a bunch of critics. And it was a big joke, except probably to Uwe Boll, who probably took it very, very seriously.
Just a horrible human being.
I know. Now this is
Postal is maybe one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. I'm so appalled that even exists.
And the thing is that part of Raging Bull is it's not just about the boxing matches, but it's also a profile of Uwe Boll, and as you would imagine, it's a little self-congratulatory. So I think it gives him way too much credit for being some iconoclastic whatever. So that's the first one, Raging Bull. The second one, which he did direct, is called Blackwoods, and it stars the Uwe Boll appropriate cast of Michael Paré and Clint Howard. Now this is done in 2002, so it's a little bit old. So it's about this guy Patrick Muldoon. He caused this car accident that killed somebody years earlier, and he's rebuilding his life with his girlfriend. And so this is before he became super Uwe Boll. Like everybody started hating his movie, so he decided to double down on being horrible.
It's unbelievable.
So this is almost a movie, but again, it's an Uwe Boll movie, so it's not very good. So it's called Blackwoods, and you gotta bail on that. Now we also have another one directed by Uwe Boll called Sanctimony. This is from even earlier. This is 2000. This is Casper Van Dien, Michael Paré, Eric Roberts, and Catherine Oxenberg. I wonder if that's where they met. Because Casper Van Dien is married to Catherine Oxenberg.
Yeah.
Anyway, this one is This one took its cue from American Psycho, although good luck with that, because American Psycho is obviously 10 times the film this is. Casper Van Dien is this serial killer, and he's known as the Monkey Maker, and he is taunting the authorities because they can't catch him, and the detectives are sort of kind of coming closer and closer. So each slaying becomes more and more gruesome and ridiculous, and that's Sanctimony, and it sucks because he's Uwe Boll. Oh. And that's what Uwe Boll does, movies that suck.
Yep.
So the only other DVD I want to get to before we get into Blu-rays is there's a double feature DVD.
This is, and I have a special story about this, but carry on, because I know you're more fond of at least one of these than I am.
Well, it's Krull and Spacehunter. Now, for those who grew up in a certain era, Krull and Spacehunter were kind of beloved movies, I just like Krull because I thought I was one of the only people to own the James Horner score. But it turns out you own the James Horner score too. That just killed my.
Yeah,
it's good. It's a good score.
Okay,
it's very swashbuckling. It's good.
So here's the thing.
Spacehunter, by the way, has Molly Ringwald.
Well, okay. So Krull was directed by
Peter Yates,
the same year that he directed The Dresser and got all kinds of Oscar nominations for The Dresser. Tom Courtney and
Albert
Finney, a wonderful film. But he did Krull the same year. It's like Peter Yates. We have another Peter Yates film we're going to be talking about shortly. Peter Yates is a fantastic director, great British director. Why he did Krull, I have no idea. It clearly aspires to be kind of a Star Wars-y, fantasy, sci-fi-y thingy. And it doesn't really hold together. And it had what's-his-face in it who'd played.
Liam Neeson's in this thing.
I know it. I know. But here's the thing about Krull. Well, first of all, both films. When I first started working right out of high school, my first job out of high school in my first year at UCLA, I worked at the Man's National Theater, which they've since torn down. They're now putting up some crappy condos. And the first film I worked was Spacehunter. I worked like the last week of Spacehunter right before Twilight Zone the movie came in. So I remember Spacehunter. I saw that movie maybe 20 times in various forms, walking in and out of the theater, and it's, you know what? It was terrible at the time, but in hindsight, there's a kind of nostalgic fondness that I have for it now.
That does make the film good. It just makes the film nostalgic to you.
And I worked Krull a few months later, so I worked both of these films. I did. So this means something to me.
Now, of course, I was across the street of the Avco, where I saw Revenge of the Nerds 17,000 times, and the Avco, by the way, they also tore down and then rebuilt. As one of those fancy theaters where you can sit in couches and order real food. Have you been there? No.
I haven't.
I haven't. I mean, we see free movies. Why are we going there? Anyway, on DVD we have Krull and Spacehunter.
All right. We have a bunch of things that we didn't get to last week. A lot of catalog titles. Great movies. Some really terrific stuff that is out now on Blu-ray. I'm going to go through this really quickly because there's no reason to dwell on a lot of this before we get around to a few new movies. But there's some really great stuff. Scream Factory and Shout Factory. We have three.
Escape from New York, Shout Factory, bam!
I know.
Can't wait, count the days.
We got Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh, out on Blu-ray with an audio commentary from Bill Condon.
See, that's
did
cool.
a Candyman movie.
That's cool.
Yeah. Good for him doing a commentary on that. And then interviews with, of course, Tony Todd and Veronica Cartwright. A lot of fun. Not a good movie, but, it's good on Blu-ray. On Golden Pond, which...
wow.
Right?
That's crazy.
Blu-ray Collector's Edition.
I mean, that was, was Henry Fonda and his daughter and the whole thing.
It is fantastic.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie. On Golden Pond is a wonderful movie. That was the year... That was 1981. 1981, that was the year of Reds and Chariots of Fire. That was a big deal. And Best Actor and Best Actress went to On Golden Pond.
As well it should have. That
Katharine
was
Hepburn got her 4th Academy Award, unprecedented for Best Actress.
And it was also Henry Fonda's. That was his capper. That was it.
It was. That was his capper. And then The Boys from Brazil, another really, really fun movie. It's a little dated now, but Franklin Shafter, who of course did Patton and Planet of the Apes, does a really good job here with Gregory Peck playing Dr. Mengele. And the idea here is that they've cloned Hitler into all these different boys, and it's a preposterous plot.
We've cloned Hitler. That's my Gregory Peck. I've cloned Hitler.
That little kid just creeps me out. The one that plays all the different incarnations with different accents.
He's going to grow up to be Hitler.
It's just too fun.
I'm Gregory Peck.
But yet it somehow works, right?
It does.
It does. It's a fun movie. Love is the Devil is out from Strand and Blu-ray. Strand does not do a lot of Blu-rays, so it's worth noting that this is out. John Maybury film. This is all about Francis Bacon, the painter, played by Derek Jacobi here. It's they're pushing it with Daniel Craig on the cover, because obviously we know Daniel Craig a lot better than we know Derek Jacobi. Tilda Swinton is in this as well. This is a wild, mind-trippy movie. It's a little kind of quasi-psychedelic, but this is definitely a very kind of cool artifact from early 90s, I believe this was. I didn't look it up, but I think this is maybe late 90s. Anyway, good movie to check out. Love is the Devil. Mark, we have a bit of a connection to Supernova.
We do?
We do.
What's that?
Lloyd shot this. We talked about Lloyd last week.
We did.
Lloyd Ahern, friend of ours.
Whose father shot Miracle on 34th Street.
That's right. And Lloyd, a very good cinematographer, normally works with Walter Hill. But this movie was directed by Thomas Lee.
Am I supposed to be...
Thomas Lee is Walter Hill. Walter Hill took his name off the movie. And Francis Coppola apparently directed part of this as well. This movie
that's bizarre.
This was a mess. This film was a mess. It was a catastrophe. James Spader, Angela Bassett. It was supposed to be. It meant to be kind of a little bit like that Danny Boyle film, Sunrise.
Sunshine. I love that film. You hate that film. I love that film.
I don't hate it. It's
the last film I ever saw at the Wilshire Theater, by the way.
Oh wow. Well, anyway, Supernova should have been a really cool kind of 80s era sci-fi thing. It should have had that feel of Outland and Alien, and it should have really kind of resonated, but it didn't. It just didn't. This thing was a mess, and Walter Hill took his name off. However, Lloyd's work, fantastic, totally aces.
Oh, his work was always aces. Yeah.
So, I mean, cameras are like another limb to him. It's great. Wave to him, by the way, when you're on your way home, because he lives right over there. Anyway, and then we also have Heartbreak Hotel, one of Chris Columbus's less offensive but less successful films. This is out from Mill Creek. It's a kind of a cool little music-y thing set in 1972, and I don't know. It's got a good cast. David Keith and Tuesday Weld and Charles Schlatter. Nice little producing work from Linda Obst, who was kind enough to talk to us on this podcast last year. So that's Heartbreak Hotel. Chris Columbus not trying to make a giant blockbuster, not doing Harry Potter, not doing Mrs. Doubtfire, not doing Gremlins. Just telling a story, man. 3-time Academy Award winner, that guy.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Thank you. He won his first Academy Award for My Left Foot, and very deservedly, and it may very well happen again this year with Eddie Redmayne, frankly. I think Eddie Redmayne stands a good chance of winning Best
That's going to be very interesting.
It's going to be very interesting.
Between him and Benedict.
Michael Keaton, man, don't count him out.
Really?
Michael Keaton, people... After that speech that he made at the Globes...
That's going to sway a lot of...
Are you kidding me?
Although, here's the thing, though. The Oscar voters tend to be a little bit older, and Birdman might be way too out there for them.
Look, it doesn't matter. Michael Keaton went up there and he said... My name is Michael Douglas. Like he flat out said, "This is my real name. I come from this family, this big wonderful family. My son is my hero." He starts tearing up. Honestly, if I'm an Academy voter, I'm watching that. I'm like, dude, I'm going to give you an Oscar just because I want to hear the Oscar speech. If that's your Globe speech, oh my gosh, bring down the house, dude. Seriously, it makes a difference. It makes a difference.
Sorry, Eddie Redmayne, who you goofed on me because I got blurbed calling Eddie Redmayne like revelatory or something in Les Mis because I think he's great.
He is.
So now he's up for an Oscar, and it's so. Can you imagine? You can't make that movie without him.
No, you can't.
I mean, who else is going to make that movie?
Look, there are a lot of great actors this year. There are a lot of great actors, and we talked about this last week. I mean, Ralph Fiennes not getting in there, Timothy Spall not getting in there, David Oyelowo not getting in there. Both guys from Love Is Strange not getting in there. I mean, there are a lot of great performances. This has been the most stacked actor year that I can remember.
It seemed like a weak year though for performances, and it turns out it wasn't.
But the second five, I could think of 5 performances that were not nominated in the top 5 that not only would have been the top 5 in another year, but any of them could have won in another year.
Oh yeah.
I mean the top 10 male performances of this last year are incredible.
But you know what that shows you? It shows you that there really are good scripts out there. There are good scripts for good actors to really sink their teeth into.
True. So anyway, Daniel Day-Lewis won his first one for My Left Foot, which is a wonderful film and a great performance. And that's out on Blu-ray from Lionsgate. Definitely make an effort to get that. If you care about the Twilight movies, the extended editions are all out now on a triple feature, a Blu-ray from Summit, which it's like,
You know what's funny is that like 3 years ago, that would have been not just a triple feature on one Blu-ray, it would have been like a big box set with like a big die-cast wolf thing and then like a little booklet. Now they've thrown it out on one Blu-ray.
Fox has a couple of catalog titles they just put out, which are really cool. One is an Orion film. This is At the Earth's Core, which is, it's cheesy, it's schlocky, whatever. This is part of their, it's okay. But whatever. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. And then, it's that whole Jules Verne-y thing. It's whatever. It's one of those movies. It's like...
Good job, Wade. Good job.
Yeah, whatever.
Good job. Wade, give it up.
Okay.
Give it up. It's At the Earth's Core, for Christ's sake.
It's got Carolyn Monroe in
it. Move on.
Okay. And then Razor's Edge with Tyrone Power and Gene Tierney. Not the Bill Murray Razor's Edge. This is, of course, based on the same novel, same Somerset Maugham novel. But this one is very different. I love both films. I really do. I like the Bill Murray movie a lot. But something a little bit more mommy about this one. So they're two very interesting takes on the same novel. This one was directed by Edmund Goulding, and anything with Tyrone Power is always worth watching. So check this out. That's also on Blu-ray. And then we have from the Studio Classics line, the Kino Lorber Studio Classics line, which is a lot of Fox and MGM stuff mostly. We have Foxes with Jodie Foster.
Ooh, that was... I remember that. Controversial, Wade.
That?
Controversial.
Adrian Lyne directed this, and that's really...
it was sort of like the Blue Lagoon in the City. Very controversial, young girls, kind of like in various stages of undress, being promiscuous.
This was the movie that allowed Adrian Lyne... David Putnam produced this, by the way, because he was producing all of Adrian Lyne's stuff at the time. And, these were all people that had worked for Putnam, right? I mean, it's when he did... all the Alan Parker stuff and the Ridley Scott stuff. I mean, these were guys that all came from his advertising house in the UK. I mean, he broke a lot of these amazing talents. Both Scott brothers, actually. So anyway, David Putnam threw his name on this, and of course, this was 1980, the same year that he basically began production on Chariots of Fire, and then he won his Oscar the next year, and then shortly thereafter, he went on to do the Mission and won the Palme d'Or. So Putnam, amazing producer. This movie, not so much. Jodie Foster's fine in it, but yeah, it's like Blue Lagoon in the City. It comes with an audio commentary with Adrian Lyne and a Sally Kellerman interview, and it's a little blast from the past, but it's okay. And then if you go to screenarchives.com, you can get the amazing Twilight Time stuff. And Twilight Time just released a bunch of stuff in December and January. All of it absolutely worth getting. They go and they mine the studio vaults for, again, in this case, primarily 20th Century Fox and MGM stuff. They just mine it for great titles that are not being exploited. And here's what we get. You ready for this, Mark? Get this. Gosh, this is like an amazing collection all in one. Inherit the Wind.
Kidding me? Inherit
Spencer
the Wind.
Tracy. Frickin' Inherit the Wind. Unbelievable.
But no extras.
Blu-ray.
No extras.
Well, you get an isolated score on all of these. You always have the isolated score. The isolated score is the thing. Isolated score and effects track in this case, and then the trailer. The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. How great is this? Ronald Neame directed the unbelievable Maggie Smith to an Oscar in this. It's the role that she'll forever be known as. And Maggie Smith has been doing a lot of great stuff. I mean, we all love Maggie Smith, but she won an Oscar for this. Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. On Blu-ray. Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. Barbra Streisand and
Yentl. How could that not get a decent release?
1983, Yentl. Same year as Terms of Endearment and The Right Stuff. This was like a big year. Yentl, huge film, wonderful film, one of my favorite films. Why did they not do a big splashy release of this? I don't know, but Twilight Time, they got their claws in this and they said this is not being done justice.
How could they just how could the studio just blow that off?
You know what? I'm glad they did. Twilight Time did a tremendous job here. You get the director's extended cut of the film along with the theatrical version. You get an audio commentary by Barbra Streisand and her co-producer, Rusty Lemerandi. I always used to call him Rusty Lemonade.
To his face?
Yeah, all the time. You get deleted scenes. I mean, introduction to special features, director's reel featurette. I mean, all this amazing stuff on the rehearsal process. They went crazy on
and
this.
And they should. This is an important film.
And bravo, Twilight Time. Fantastic. Heaven and Earth, the Oliver Stone film, which is the third of his Vietnam movies. I'm not a fan. It has an Oliver Stone commentary, and that's fine. I hate this movie, but some people like it, and I'm glad it's out. Funny Lady, the sequel to Funny Girl, another Barbra Streisand movie. This was directed by Herbert Ross, who, of course, would go on to do The Turning Point and Footloose and a lot of other great movies. Herbert Ross had been the choreographer on the previous film, on Funny Girl. He stepped up to director in this, did a wonderful job. Not as good as the previous. James Caan doesn't really, hold his own against Streisand the same way. But it's a lovely movie. The ongoing adventures of Fanny Brice. The Fortune. You ever seen The Fortune?
Yeah, 1982.
It's so fun. It's so fun. Basically, the idea here is that you have...
It's Nicholson and Warren Beatty.
Look at Nicholson's face. How funny is that?
Of course.
No, it's Nicholson and Warren Beatty. Basically, they saw The Sting, and they're like, hey, we're funnier than those guys. We could do a better caper movie than Redford and Newman. So they go and they enlist...
And they're trying to be funny.
They try to be funny. They enlist Stockard Channing, and she's an heiress, and they're trying to pull a scam and take her money, and it's really terrific. And the late Mike Nichols directed this. Wonderful job. Wonderful job. Anything Mike Nichols did, I just love. We have a 30th anniversary edition of Fright Night, limited edition series. I'm not a fan of Fright Night, but a lot of people are. And tons of stuff on here. There's effects stuff and two audio commentaries. And if you're a fan of Fright Night, this one just knocks it out of the park. Twilight Time puts this in a clear package. They're really up on their game. Twilight Time is just great. Talked about Peter Yates. He also did Breaking Away.
Oh, great film.
Great film. Won a very deserved Academy Award for Steve Tessich's screenplay. And that's just terrific.
You shaved your legs.
So great. Such a great movie. It's a great cycling movie.
It's a great movie about growing up. It's just cycling.
Movie about growing up, but
it's about cycling, but don't think it's
it's
you got to care about.
Film.
Yes.
Dennis Christopher, great job. Dennis Quaid, tremendous. Daniel Stern. I mean, Jackie Earle Haley. Look at all the people it's got in it. So good.
Jackie Chan.
Oh, so good. Great music by Patrick Williams. A really good film. Very deserved Oscar winner. The fantastic Purple Rose of Cairo.
Yeah.
Purple Rose
my
Cairo.
gosh. So I have that poster on my wall.
I know you do. This is from their limited edition series, the Purple Rose of Cairo. Wonderful Woody Allen movie. Maybe his greatest Valentine to the movies.
Oh, sure.
I mean, the way this movie ends, I just go, oh, I get it. I'm so with you. You just connect to it. It's just fantastic. It's basically Woody Allen taking Sherlock Jr., the Buster Keaton film, and elaborating on it and kind of making it his own and expanding on the concept. And it's just fantastic. Purple Rose of Cairo. Jeff Daniels, never been better. Watching it, just ignore the fact that he and Mia had a complete and total blow-up and just live with the fact that they were making great movies at that time. The Bride Wore Black, a fantastic, awesome, tremendous performance by Jeanne Moreau in this very great Francois Truffaut film. This is unfortunately not the best version of this. There's a French copy of this that I've seen that's actually a better print. But you do get the English dubbed version on this. You get an audio commentary with film historians on it. including Nick Redman. You get a trailer. You get a few other interesting things here, including a conversation with Bernard Herrmann. So this is one of the more Hitchcockian Truffaut films. I'm glad it's out on Blu-ray. I recommend it, but there's a better version to be had if you want to get an import. And then a movie that I saw at Cannes in 1993, was it, or 92? Can't remember, but anyway, it was the early part of the 90s, and it just floored me. This was my favorite film of the year. This made my number one film on my top 10 list, Bandit Queen.
Oh, it's great.
This is the film that broke Shaker Kapoor out. He, of course, went on to do Elizabeth and become an Oscar nominee and the whole thing. But Bandit Queen is the true story of Poolan Devi, who was this woman who was basically sold into a marriage when she was a girl in rural India and repeatedly raped, and then she was rescued from this horrible relationship by a group of bandits, and she rose to become the head of this tribe of bandits and wreak unholy revenge and havoc on everyone who ever wronged her. And the famous massacre where she goes back to the village where she was raped and just mows down every man in the village is one of the most unbelievable pieces of cinema I've ever seen. And it's incredible. And everything that they do in that sequence is done in camera. There's no after camera, no post-production enhancement of what happens during that scene. You watch it visually, and you realize it was all done in camera while they were shooting. You just have to applaud. Shaker Kapoor is just at his peak in this film. This is an amazing, magnificent film with a central performance, a lead performance by Seema Biswas that will blow your mind. Great movie, absolutely fantastic. That also is out from Twilight Time. And then, before we get into new movies, Mark, you ever heard of The Skin?
I have Skin.
This is by Liliana Cavani. Liliana Cavani, you probably know because she did the Night Porter.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. This is another film of hers. I don't have my glasses on. Can you tell me what the extras are on that?
Hang on, let me put on my glasses, Wade.
Okay.
Because I brought them this time.
Yeah.
Blu-ray featurette, that is small. 4 featurettes. Obviously, I did not watch this. 4 featurettes, including 3 with director Lilian Cavani, and 1 with production designer Dante Ferretti. Feature-length audio commentary by some jerk and Andy Klein. French trailer. Wait, let me read the other one. Feature-length audio commentary by some jerk and Andy Klein. And there's also English subtitles. Yeah, I don't see anything unusual there. I don't know. It seems fine to me.
You hate me. No,
Wade does the audio commentary on the movie.
We had a lot of fun doing this. Basically, The Skin it's based, in fact, about the things that transpire in Naples after the American Army moves in, end of World War II. Right, you're going up through Italy, and as you're slowly reclaiming Italy, and it's basically about the chaos and the debauchery and what's happening to Italian society in Naples at the time they move through, and it's. The book, I've never read the book. Andy read the book. So the commentary is basically me, a lot of me saying, Andy, did they really do that in the book? Oh, yeah, that's even worse in the book. That's the audio commentary right there. I just gave you a preview. But it is, there's a lot of giallo stuff in this. It's not a giallo film, but when it gets gory, it gets gory. And there's clearly a shock effect. That there are a couple of moments in this, and you can tell we're squirming in our skin during the commentary because we had to watch it and make notes right before the commentary. And you get to a point you're like, "Ooh, really? I'm going to have to watch that again, and then comment on it again." And you squeam, but you're supposed to. You're supposed to squeam.
That's not a word.
I know. But if you're squeamish, you squeam. So anyway, The Skin really is a kind of a landmark film. Marcello Mastroianni, Burt Lancaster, Claudia Cardinale, by the great director Liliana Cavani. Probably one of her most noteworthy films outside of The Night Porter. All right, Mark, let's do some new movies and junk and stuff.
New movies. Let's start with a surprise Oscar nominee for Best Supporting Actor. We have The Judge,
oldest actor ever nominated for an Academy Award.
That is amazing.
Isn't that amazing? More than Richard Farnsworth now.
This is the John Grisham adaptation that John Grisham never wrote. That's what this is. It's Robert Downey Jr. plays a big city lawyer who returns to his childhood home where to represent his father in a murder case. And really, if one gets any enjoyment out of this, which is minimal, it's just seeing Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall chew the scenery a little bit. I was sort of hoping that Downey Jr. would maybe play like a real part, like not do his whole like flamboyant Iron Man thing. Like maybe he would actually do like a real movie. The problem is that he doesn't. He is very out there and Downey Jr.-esque, and the thing is that it's kind of appropriate for this character because this guy's like this big city lawyer and he's a hotshot. He thinks he's all that. So it's good casting. He does get to be Robert Downey Jr. We'll have to wait a little bit longer before he does another real movie. In the meantime, this thing is completely and absolutely adequate. Robert Duvall, of course, every performance from him is a gift at this point because he is getting up there. So we have this, by the way, was directed by David Dobkin, who is normally a director of like really bad comedies, but he decided to go legit with this thing, and it's you can't fault him. I just think that the movie really just it just seems very, it's kind of very cliched. It just seems like a typical, again, John Grisham-y type legal thriller type airport novel, and so it really wasn't that remarkable, but does have some special features, including a commentary by Dobkin and featurette, which is pretty useless. So there you go, The Judge.
Beautiful.
Also new, we have Lucy. Now, Lucy was a film that I had a little bit of hope for because I thought to myself, you know what, maybe this is the one where Luc Besson says, you know what, I'm going to bring it this time. I know I haven't brought it in a long time because all I do is worry about EuropaCorp and all my little producing ventures.
This is where he thought, I know what I'll do. I'll remake La Femme Nikita, but I'll make her an X-Man.
This thing was not.
That's what it is.
This thing was
La Femme Nikita as an X-Man.
This thing was a disappointment. It stars Scarlett Johansson, and she winds up being a drug mule. And during the course of being a drug mule, something goes wrong, and she winds up ingesting this drug that allows her to use 100% of her brain. And you would think that the problem with the premise is that if it's 100% of your brain, the movie would be over in like 5 seconds. You would make everybody kill themselves, and you'd be the hero, and the movie would be over.
Yeah.
It's just stop that.
Yeah.
Like they don't really like the way they delve into what it would actually mean to use that much of your brain. It's completely uninteresting.
But how is it that Morgan Freeman can say any line, and it just somehow he could like say the stupidest line, and it somehow sounds credible and believable? You just accept it.
Is that true? Because he's awesome.
He's just amazing.
Come on, he's Morgan Freeman. Anyway, this thing was a disappointment. And by the way, if you're into Scarlett Johansson, and who isn't, I would recommend Under the Skin. You're better off renting that than you are Lucy. I loved Under the Skin.
Yeah,
very disturbing film.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, Mark, we have a giveaway a little bit later.
We also have an Oscar pool. Don't forget.
FunOfficePools.com.
FunOfficePools.com. Join our office. You will play against Wade and myself. The username is the Digigods with a space between the and Digigods, and the password is
Lars von Trier, all one word, lowercase.
Yes. So please join. And by the way, what you will win is a collection of swag that Wade is Wade is collating.
You're gonna win 12 Uwe Boll films.
We don't know what you're gonna win. We haven't figured it out yet. We are trying to work out a really cool swag bag for you.
Yeah. All right.
And it's free, by the way. It's free.
Yeah, totally.
Free.
Yeah, it's free. It's free. You don't
got to put it out there.
All right. Carry on, Mark.
Oh. People had a lot of interest in David Ayer's Fury. David Ayer, of course, being responsible for Hero Training Day, and what else? Hero Training Day. He also
Training
wrote,
Day, and then
the one after that.
The with the Gyllenhaal and.
Oh, that's right. Not Nightcrawler. The other one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't stop the recording.
I won't.
Thank you. Anyway. Brad Pitt plays a tank commander in World War II, and it all takes place in April of 1995, and the Allies are making their final push, and it's all about the Sherman tank, who Brad Pitt commands it, and he's got a 5-man crew, and they just bust their way through the heart of Nazi Germany, and I would have bought this film, especially the last 30 minutes. I would have bought the film if it was a true story. Because at the end, you're like, "Wow, I cannot believe this is happening." I won't tell you what happens.
Yeah, David Ayer is doing Suicide Squad, right?
That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, really, he got it based on the strength of this.
Yeah.
But the last 30 minutes of this movie, you're like, "This movie will work for me like gangbusters if that actually happened."
End of watch.
That was it.
Yeah.
As if that actually happened. Of course, it didn't. And so in the end, you're like, it looks nice. It's got the same, grays and fatigue greens of a normal World War II movie. Shia LaBeouf is actually, for what little he does in it, he doesn't have a big role, but I have to say he brings it. He's good.
He's a cannibal.
He's out of his mind.
Actual cannibal, Shia LaBeouf.
He's out of
Hollywood superstar, Shia LaBeouf.
He's out of his mind.
You've seen that, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
The song? You haven't seen that?
No. Oh, is that the music video with the girl?
Yeah.
I've seen that.
No, not the music video with the girl. The performance piece.
What's that?
The Shia LaBeouf song.
No.
You haven't seen? Are you kidding me?
I've not seen that.
Did I not send you that link?
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh my gosh! It's the funniest thing of all time.
I have not seen it.
With the West Hollywood Gay Men's Chorus and that whole thing. You haven't
Sounds
seen
familiar,
it?
but I didn't see it.
The dance troupe.
Didn't see it.
Singing the song about Shia LaBeouf, like running through the woods. Shia LaBeouf running on all fours. Shia LaBeouf, actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf. You haven't seen that?
No.
Where it's the story of this guy and he has it like Shia LaBeouf attacks him in the woods and then he thinks he's gotten away and then but he's not dead. Oh my gosh, it's great! I have to go. I have to send you the link.
You're making that up.
I'm not. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Anyway, this movie, it just winds up being just a big slug, a shot of whiskey. In terms of the canon of World War II films, it's not an amazing film. It's not going to take the place of Saving Private Ryan or Platoon. It's completely fine. I wish it was more, but that's Fury.
Very slick, very nicely done. That's all I'll say about it. Okay, I'm going to blow through a whole bunch of things here real quickly. From Paramount, we got a DVD of Rudderless, which is William H. Macy's directing debut. Very solid, very safe, but also very solid. It is. He's got some really good actors here, which helps. Billy Crudup and Selena Gomez, and Lawrence Fishburne. Selena Gomez, surprisingly, really good in this. I wouldn't have wanted to say that at one point. Anton Yelchin didn't annoy me, as he often does. And it's basically a story of an ad executive played by Billy Crudup who loses his son and then finds that his son had these amazing demo tapes and decides that he's going to basically start performing his son's songs. And it's just really sweet, and it's got a wonderful. It's got a wonderful, I hate to say message, but it's really humanistic and it's very nicely put together. And Macy is solid with it. Not so impressive is this Blu-ray called Memphis. I found this film to be just utterly irritating on beyond all comprehension. It's kind of documentary-like. It's kind of narrative. It's sort of in between the two. It's about this jazz musician, but it's just got this insufferable kind of early 60s European meandering feel, like we don't want you to actually think this was scripted and we're just going to point the camera at things for no reason and let scenes drag on endlessly and let people ramble, and it just doesn't work. So can't say anything good about Memphis. I can say wonderful things about the Scorpion King 4, Quest for Power with Lou Ferrigno, but I won't. If I did, I'd be lying.
That movie is wrong for so many reasons. Lou Ferrigno? What happened to him?
The Scorpion King was a bad enough idea to begin with. Spin-off from the Mummy films, right, with The Rock. But, okay, fine, fair enough, Scorpion King. He was in the Mummy, and you got The Rock, and okay, fine, why not? We'll make the Scorpion King. And then Scorpion King 2. That was a bad idea. Scorpion King 3, did anyone even hear about that? Did that do any... Is there like really an audience out there for a Scorpion King franchise? And then you get down to Scorpion King 4, and you have no choice but to hire Lou Ferrigno?
This must be the highest profile thing Lou Ferrigno has done in 20 years.
Are you kidding me?
Has he done anything higher profile than this in the last 20 years?
I don't know, and I don't care. And then Royce Gracie, who's from the Gracie family, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the WW or the mixed martial arts MMA fighting family. I mean, it's.
By the way, let me tell you something. So I'm walking down the halls of my office, right?
Yeah.
And they have all these monitors there, right? And one of the monitors has on the Esquire channel.
Of course.
And the Esquire channel during the day they show reruns of Incredible Hulk.
Sure.
Lou Ferrigno.
Sure.
So now there was no audio.
Doesn't everyone?
Yeah. It's the best. No. So I'm looking at the show. There's Bill Bixby. There's Lou Ferrigno. There's the guest star of the week. Can I tell you something? That show sucks.
What?
The Incredible Hulk? Come on.
Lou Ferrigno. It was fun at the time.
It was like a guy with green paint on. That show is terrible. That does not hold up in any way, shape, or form.
Well, okay.
He's like some guy, like his pants are all ripped, like all art department ripped, like all the costume department. Oh, let's rip up his pants. Costume department assistant, take this razor and this scissor and rip up his pants. Oh no, make that rip a little bit higher than the other rip, so it looks like he ripped it.
Okay, thank you.
That show sucked.
Okay,
I loved it as a kid.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, we have a really, really stupid movie here called The Lost Legion, which is there was a moment when we're getting a lot of Roman Empire movies, and this is one of them. This is one of the less impressive ones. It's kind of in the waning days of the Roman Empire, and a little bit too much kind of Roman politics. It's weak. It's not even as impressive as the HBO show Rome. So strictly for people who are into that kind of thing. Man, what a missed opportunity. Oh my gosh, Mark. What happened to Terry Gilliam?
Know.
Why is this movie so boring? How did this happen? The Lost Theorem. I was looking forward to this. And part of the problem is Christoph Waltz. I can't handle him as an actor anymore. I can't. I know we interviewed him. He was a nice guy. He was really sweet in the whole thing. And he was good in the two Tarantino films. But I can't handle him anymore. Big Eyes. It just didn't work for me. Tim Burton. I couldn't handle him in that. He drives me crazy and everything. This thing, he's trying to do Brazil here.
Well, you know what? Gilliam, to me, somehow, I think he's attracted to these movies for their production design potential. And then the thing is that you can't do that without a bigger budget. It's like this future world with all this crazy stuff going on in the street, the exteriors and interiors, and it looks like a low to mid-budget film. It just looks, it's gaudy and ridiculous.
Well, he's a guy who's completely disconnected. He basically sits at the computer all day long in this weird dystopian future where he's got this mechanical thing all set up inside of a church. And he's sort of, Matt Damon is his boss, and he's trying to discover emotions that he doesn't have, and he's almost very robotic as a person. And it's just so boring. It's insufferable. It never ends. So upsetting. Anyway, that's out on Blu-ray. And then here, let's.
You know what Gilliam should do?
What should he do?
Gilliam should do like a cable. Gilliam should do like a cable show. Like, what if Gilliam did? What if he did like a 10-episode HBO show?
All right,
wouldn't that be cool?
Look, Woody Allen's going to do a show now.
How amazing!
Amazon.
How amazing is that? Are you kidding me? First of all, Woody Allen is now more current than only Clint Eastwood. In terms of that age, is that current in terms of being a filmmaker?
Woody's comment is, I have no idea what I've gotten into. I don't have any ideas. I don't really know where to start.
He says that about everything.
That's great. I love it.
We don't know what the concept is.
No.
We don't know anything about that thing.
Doesn't matter. It'll be great.
I mean, that's crazy. I cannot believe Amazon convinced Woody Allen to do a show for them.
Let's talk about this for just a second. The Boxtrolls.
Let's not.
This got an Oscar nomination, Mark.
Yeah, instead of Lego Movie.
Lego Movie did not. I mean, the Song of the Sea and Taylor Princess Kaguya both got Oscar nominations, which is nice. I mean, I think everybody appreciates when traditional hand-drawn 2D animation, especially when it's not American, gets some kind of recognition. And those two films, I applaud that they did that. And How to Train Your Dragon 2, fine, whatever. And whatever the other one was. What was the other one that got nominated? The other...
Big Hero 6?
Big Hero 6, which we knew was, it's got the Disney power behind it. And then the Lego Movie, you're thinking, why, it's a no-brainer, right? Everyone loved that thing.
And it did huge numbers.
It did huge, and everyone loved it. And it's good animation, it's well written, and the whole thing, right? The complete package. Like, what? The Boxtrolls? Why not the Del Toro thing, the Game of Life or whatever that was called?
Well,
the Book of Life.
Here's what I think. I think that the animation branch, those guys, they don't like Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
They clearly don't,
do
they?
Like him.
That's the second time they've shafted them.
I know. For some reason, they do not like them.
That's just so weird. They must resent it because they're not animation guys.
That's the thing, they're not animation guys.
You know, they resent that a couple of carpetbaggers came in from the live action field,
and a bunch of carpetbaggers from the live action field who do all those crazy, Jonah Hill films, do a computer animated film, no hand drawn. I don't think they like them.
Wow, boy, it does not reflect well in the animation branch. That's kind of sour grapes. Anyway, the Boxtrolls got an Oscar nomination, and it's not good, man. It just isn't. It's they're trolls and they live in boxes. I don't get it. It just borrows all of its story elements from 100 other animated films, and it's that whole elf vibe, right? That we're going to rally around the misfit and help them realize their dreams and all that stuff. But I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Do you get it?
No. Box. It's the title. They're trolls and they live in boxes. What?
Why
Who
not?
came up with that?
Oh, come on, Gremlins. Gremlins are Gremlins. You can't get them wet.
Yeah. After midnight. Blah blah blah. Whatever.
I never liked that movie.
Okay.
I missed the whole Gremlins cult comedy thing.
Gremlins 2 is great, but you realize Gremlins 2 is a totally different film.
Yeah.
Gremlins 2 is a just madcap, manic satire of everything. It's almost South Park like the way that it's more, or even like your favorite,
which is not on Blu-ray. You're about to say Team America, my favorite movie of all time.
It's very Team America like, but I was going to say it's very Family Guy like.
Oh, Family Guy.
It just riffs on everything.
I love Family Guy, and you don't like it because you're lame.
Let me hit a couple other ones here real quickly. Got a little movie called 88 that's on Blu-ray. Kind of a female revenge thing. It's not like Lucy, but it's it's all right. It's got a few little twists and turns in it. It's not bad. Directed by April Mullen, who will do some interesting things at some point. So that's probably worth a rental for people who like that kind of stuff. Patricia Clarkson, a fantastic actress in a movie that completely went under the radar for everybody. It's called Last Weekend, but she's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. It's just about a woman who's trying to sort of, reinvent her life after a very, very long marriage, and having raised her sons. And it's one of those movies that probably didn't cost much, but you just sort of rally around her and her performance, and it's great. Juliette Lewis, who's completely off the radar as well, in a little movie called Kelly and Cal, which is from IFC. This thing. It makes me kind of miss her as an actress because she can do some very interesting work, and she does do some interesting work in here. So Sybil Shepherd shows up in this as well, and that also is worth maybe a little rental glimpse. John Leguizamo in Fugly I just don't know what to make of this. I'm more interested in Radha Mitchell, actually. I'm watching Radha Mitchell in this. I'm like, what happened to her?
I liked her. I know. She was
cool.
cool.
Why isn't she getting bigger? Why isn't she in like a Marvel hero or an X-Man? Like, Radha Mitchell is great.
She's cool.
She's really a terrific actress.
You know who does those roles now? It seems to me Rose Byrne.
Right? Yeah.
Right, Rose Byrne. She was recently in Annie, and she's in...
True. She's getting those calls, but yeah, I don't know. But John Leguizamo is, it's just another one of his kind of celebratory. It's like he wants to be naughty, right? Just the title alone, Fugly. Yeah, we know what that means.
Yeah, blah blah blah.
Yeah, and then the part 3, thank goodness, mercifully bringing this to an end. Part 3 of the very misbegotten, independently produced, disastrous Atlas Shrugged. One of the most popular novels of all time, one of the most controversial novels of all time, rights purchased by someone who had never made a movie and had no idea what he was doing, and went ahead and just made a train wreck of the production with 3 different films shot not consecutively, but with separate budgets and entirely different casts. Every single part is a different actor in the 3 parts of these 3 films. It's insane. It is a total, complete, catastrophic mess. This is why people who don't know how to make movies should not make movies.
Now, he picked up the rights to that because Angelina Jolie had wanted to make that forever.
Yes.
Now, how can this guy get the rights and not Angelina Jolie?
That's a conversation for another time. I actually know a few people who know a few people, and I've heard a few stories from people who know people. And
people who know people are the luckiest people in the world?
Not really. So, and then before I let Mark off on this, here's our giveaway this week. It's a movie called Zara's Law with Tony Sirico. We love Tony Sirico.
That's what you're giving away this week?
Yeah, we're giving Zara's Law. We got 3 copies of Zara's Law to give away. Tony Sirico and Burt Young, of course.
Worst giveaway ever.
If you like the whole Sopranos thing, you love these guys. Tony Sirico plays a retired cop, and his young brother was taken out. And
like on a date?
No, he was a mobster, right? His brother was a mobster, so his young brother's taken out, and he's got to make things right for the family. So it's pretty straightforward, generic kind of crime stuff, but it's one of the better films we've gotten lately from Arc Entertainment, and they're giving us 3 copies to give away. So if you want a DVD copy of Zara's Law with Tony Sirico, go ahead and send us an email to gods@digigods.com and put law, L-A-W, in the subject. Oh, is that my daughter?
Hi.
Honey. Hi, honey. Hi there.
Hi,
my daughter just opened the door.
I'll take a picture of your daughter.
Put law in the subject line. And we will pick 3 people to be the lucky recipients of a DVD of Zara's Law. So gods@digigods.com. Put your name and address in the body as well, and we will send you Zara's Law. That's law in the subject line. Are you done with the picture?
Well, I'm taking a picture of your daughter.
Ah, so sweet. Okay. So those little yellow boots, by the way, you know the inspiration for the yellow boots.
Curious George.
Peppa Pig.
Oh, God.
Because Peppa has little yellow boots.
Oh, you love
Peppa Pig. She used to jump up and down in muddy puddles. We gave her those yellow boots for Christmas.
Freaking baby.
Yes. Carry on.
I got a couple, Wade. We have this interesting film. We're talking about Muslim violence, clashes between Muslims and Christians. And in the spirit of that, we have from 2013, May in the Summer, which was directed by Sherian Dabi. I don't know from when she comes, but or even if it's a she. But quite talented. It's with Bill Pullman, by the way, from Independence Day, but the only kind of American name actor in the movie. It's about this woman who has a great life, and she's going to marry this distinguished New York smart guy. And then before getting married, she returns to Jordan for the wedding. And then, of course, when she comes back, cracks start to appear in her relationship with the husband, because the woman's mother is a born-again Christian, and yet this girl's fiance is Muslim. And so you start to get into a lot of interesting, yet never too heavy, conversations about religion and marrying interfaith marriages. So it's interesting stuff, but it's a little bit comic, a little bit dramatic. So even though they're taking on some heavy stuff, it's kind of got a freshness to it, which I kind of liked. So, and again, it's got a strong female lead, played by the director. So you may want to check out May in the Summer from the good folks at Cohen Media Group. It's really it's really pretty good. Kind of a fresh little discovery.
Sweet.
Elijah Wood and Sasha Grey star in Open Windows for some reason. And this is another thing, like we were talking about earlier, maybe last week, about actors who are really, really rich and they can get any movie they want made. Now, Elijah Wood, right?
Sure.
He starred in an Oscar-winning Best Picture, right?
Sure.
Yeah. The Ring thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does Open Windows. Yeah, it's great.
I don't know why these guys. It isn't funny. He and it's like what's happened to Harry Potter and Frodo? Well, they're now making obscure little indie movies. It's very weird.
They're not making like horror films.
They're not making great choices.
No, they're making like these weird thrillers. Yeah. And although wasn't Elijah Wood in the thing with the piano?
Yeah, which is a good movie. Which is a good movie, but it went nowhere.
Yeah, it went nowhere. Yeah. Color of Time is on DVD and is notable only for its cast, a very good cast. This movie is a little bit older, and obviously they're throwing its cast up against the on the cover of the DVD to prove to you that it's got some bona fides. Bertha Reynolds, Zach Braff, Jessica Chastain, James Franco, and Mila Kunis are in this. It's about the Pulitzer Prize-winning poet C.K. Williams. Now, Williams is played by James Franco, and again, this was done a bunch of years ago. So, and I'm a fan of James Franco. I know some people are not. I actually like the fact that his career is whatever the hell he wants it to be. I wish our careers could be whatever the hell we want it to be. Why not? Franco wants to do a soap opera. He wants to do a online series. He wants to do this. Let him do it. I think it's great. There's nothing wrong with it. He's out of his mind, but that's okay. I wish we were also out of our minds. So it's a film that means well. As a character piece, it's okay. But I do like James Franco in it. I'm not a big fan of Zach Braff, so he was kind of a weak link to me. And this is an early Jessica Chastain film. Of course, Jessica Chastain to me is like the ultimate woman. I love Jessica Chastain.
Isn't it funny how the 2 films that she was in got no Oscar nominations?
It's because of her.
I mean, but she was like the It girl last year and the year before. She was it. And suddenly, and they're good movies. I mean, she's great in both of them. I think, obviously,
I love her.
Violence is a great film.
Right.
Most Violent Year, right? That's a fantastic film. Got no nominations.
None.
And then Eleanor Rigby. She's great in it. It's a really ambitious film. It's ambitious on a level equally as ambitious in many respects as Birdman and Boyhood. I mean, the whole him, her, and then them, different cuts. Got no traction. That should have gotten a screenplay nomination.
Because I'm not sure they knew what to make, because it was 3 movies, but then they made it into 1 movie. Or it was 2 movies, and they made it into 1 movie. We're like, which one are we supposed to watch? Which is the one?
All 3 versions are on the Blu-ray, which we just got, by the way. and they're all worth watching. It's a fascinating thing, and I know people are like, why would I want to watch the same story 3 times? But you do. It's worth kind of setting some time aside on a weekend or a late night to kind of go through it all. It really is. It's really worth sitting through.
Speaking of which, we have Coherence. Now, Coherence from the good folks at Oscilloscope. This is an interesting little discovery that kind of surprised me. I won't say much about it because it's got a lot of twisties and turnies. But it's about half a dozen friends at a dinner party. And it's on the same night as this comet. Again, I'm not going to say much about it, but when this weird little space anomaly happens, it affects the relationship between all of these people at this dinner party. And so it's very tense. It's sort of like Primer, and it's very thought-provoking. It's really well done by a director I'd never heard of, James Ward Burkett. Hopefully James Ward Burkett will do more stuff because he's a funky little guy. So it's pretty satisfying. It's satisfying stuff. Coherence. It's an interesting blend of like relationship movie, but sci-fi movie. Kind of cerebral, but not too cerebral. And I liked it. It was a nice little surprise. Coherence from Oscilloscope. Decent cast. Does what they can with White Bird in a Blizzard, which is from Greg Araki. Now, Greg Araki is a guy who, in the early 90s, he was one of those like Todd Solondz type breakout guys, and whereas some of those other directors from the era wind up doing great stuff, Greg Araki kind of disappeared. This is with Shailene Woodley and Eva Green and Christopher Maloney and Gabourey Sidibe and Angela Bassett. And, so the thing with Greg Araki is that he did some great stuff early on, Mysterious Skin, Smiley Face, Kaboom. But now it's just weird. It's just a very strange thing about this woman, and she's just kind of growing up and kind of getting into her own sexuality when her mother disappears, and that's kind of where it starts. But if you want the film explained, there's a commentary with Araki on it, along with actress Shailene Woodley, which is kind of nice. It's kind of nice when the big stars participate in the audio commentary. It shows they believe in the movie. It's okay. White Bird in a Blizzard. What else we have? We have The Remaining, which is one of those stupid B horror movie things that for some reason are just like a dime a dozen, and they get made all the time, and they annoy the crap out of me.
They all have titles like The Remaining, which makes no sense.
The Ravishing, The Remaining. And it's a supernatural thriller, and a group of friends gather. They're at a wedding, but these crazy events happen, and there's a lot of biblical and end times prophecies involved. And I won't get into it because basically I kind of skimmed through it because it sucked. But there's a deleted scene on the Blu-ray and a making of. So generally speaking, this is just another B-movie, supernatural thriller. Throw it on the pile.
Yep.
If Idris Elba becomes James Bond, and I think it'd be awesome if he did because he's cool.
They'll ignore this movie.
No Good Deed. No Good Deed. Not a very good movie.
If they go with that, he will be a cool Bond.
Oh,
but
great.
Daniel Craig still has some good years left in him.
Oh, yeah, no, he's cool too.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be another 6 years before Idris Elba gets that call.
I mean, look, it's so funny. Like, do you remember when like Daniel Craig was announced as James Bond?
Yeah.
People freaked out that he had blonde hair. Like, can the world handle a blonde-haired Bond?
Look.
Can you imagine an African-American Bond? This guy would be great.
He'd be totally great. Look, Bond, they've changed so much about Bond. Bond morphs and has morphed. Bond, and this is obviously off topic, but Bond has morphed into so many things that he was not. Ian Fleming wrote him as a Cold Warrior. We're not in the Cold War anymore. Bond isn't in the 60s anymore. Bond was written to be British. Over the course of Bond, he's been American. Barry Allen, remember, played him originally on television as an American. He's been Australian. He's been Irish. He's been Scottish, for crying out loud. Our archetypal Bond is a Scotsman. Are you kidding me? Come on. There've been a lot. I mean, Bond has gone through so many incarnations. Roger Moore is as far as can be from Ian Fleming's Bond. I think Idris Elba would be an awesome Bond. I think he'd be awesome. He could totally nail it.
I agree.
Yeah.
He, in No Good Deed, plays an escaped convict, and he shows up at the door of Taraji P. Henson's home and in Atlanta, and it's a little bit like Labor Day, actually. But this is not nearly as good as Labor Day, which, of course, I didn't like either. But the thing with Labor Day is that they actually have something in common, which is that Josh Brolin is just as dynamic. He wouldn't be a good Bond, but he's just as dynamic an actor as Idris Elba.
Yeah.
I mean, I love both those guys. Those guys together, like a mano a mano in a film,
yeah.
be great.
Yeah.
Anyway, No Good Deed sucks. It doesn't suck, but it's
not-
okay.
it's not
It's like
great.
a Saturday night rental that you forget about.
Yeah. All right, we got a bunch of gay films, real quickly. Seriously, I mean, look, it is a legitimate genre, and we get them every so often, and we want to point you to things that are certainly worth attention. Fagbug Nation is a funny title.
Funny
It's actually
title?
a funny title, fascinating film. Are you familiar with the Fagbug?
No.
I know, I wasn't either. It's a whole. Well, anyway, the fact is an infamous rainbow striped VW bug. Anyway, this is there's a whole history that goes with this car, which you get when you watch this. And Erin Davies, who owns the car, decides she's going to take it to all 50 states and just see what the reaction is. And, of course, she kind of goes almost in order. Alaska and Hawaii are the final two states. Anyway, and you go through the whole... It's just a great big giant road trip in this incredibly gaudy car that is sort of becoming a symbol of, the gay rights movement and all this. It's actually a really interesting road film doc. You got Happy End, which is a story of a couple who are going to try and do justice to a deceased friend's ashes. Also a very interesting road trip, nicely photographed, really good performances by a couple of actresses, Sina Melina Gierke and Verena Wustkamp. Really quite sharp. Two Mothers, story of a couple of women who are considering becoming parents. Provocative subject there, very timely. Snails in the Rain is an Israeli gay film. This one's a little bit more stereotypical. It's about a guy who, is closeted and his whole journey out of the closet. That story's been told a million times. The third one is also kind of a generic thing. This is also from TLA Releasing, same as the previous. It's a guy who has an overnight encounter with a couple of older guys. This is the kind of stuff that sticks at gay film festivals. But a lot more interesting is Big Gay Love, which is a comedy about a fat gay guy who is considered, he's like the schlubby one, He's not the usual gay man, hard body, whatever.
If I was gay, that'd be me.
Yeah, and how he kind of comes to terms. And it's basically saying, too many gay men are too superficial. It's a message that, will probably not be welcomed in some quarters, but it makes for a fairly decent crossover comedy. So I thought that was pretty good.
But that's why I like Normal Heart. I was very surprised by the Normal Heart, the HBO film.
Yeah.
Because it was very tough on the gay community. And it was written in...
It was, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
Which I thought was very fair. It's fine, and obviously in the end it was a tragic story. It's a beautiful story. It's a great film. And I was surprised how tough it was on the gay community.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to the end of the show. We're about to run out of time. Let me really quickly, before we get into television, let me just roll through some of the new Olive releases and then this one box set here. Universal has done something that's going to be both welcomed and reviled. They have the Bing Crosby Silver Screen Collection, which is 24 classic films. Here's the reason this is going to be welcomed: is it's all these Bing Crosby films in one box set, with 3 cases, and it's
Not
pretty
on
great.
Blu-ray.
But not on Blu-ray. And here's the other thing: if you've been collecting Bob Hope movies, half of these are Bob Hope movies. I mean, there are Road to Zanzibar, Road to Morocco. Road to Utopia. There's like a whole bunch of Bob Hope movies on here. It's like, well, you have no choice now but to double dip. And some of this stuff is on Blu-ray, Holiday Inn and Going My Way, and so it makes it a little bit difficult. So this is a nice box set if you don't want Blu-ray and if you're not a Bob Hope collector. So I'll leave it at that. And then here are a bunch of titles from Olive. Olive, of course, mines a lot of really interesting titles from other libraries. Alain Robbe-Grier's La Belle Captive is a totally unexpected 1983 release that I just did not expect anybody to go pick up. It's a really kind of haunting, somewhat dated, but really interesting movie. That's out on Blu-ray. We also have The Weapon with Steve Cochran, Elizabeth Scott, Herbert Marshall, and Nicole Maury. This is a 1957 B movie that, one of those reckless youth movies. Really cool and totally underground. Another one kind of from the same genre is World for Ransom with Dan Duryea, Gene Lockhart, and the incredible direction of Robert Aldrich. This is a little bit more mainstream, kind of a classic 54 noir. but it takes place in Shanghai. It's kind of not shot in Shanghai, obviously. Track the Man Down with Kent Taylor and Petula Clark is also a 1954 release. A little bit less interesting, but another kind of a cool underground unsung noir from the period. The Woman They Almost Lynched with John Lund, Brian Donlevy, and Audrey Totter. This is from 1953, and it is a kind of a B-Western of sorts. Some decent performances. It's based on a Saturday Evening Post story and has kind of a pulpy feel to it. Hurry Sundown is a terrific movie. Did you ever see Hurry Sundown?
That is a terrific movie.
That is a sensational movie. We've been talking a lot about race in movies lately, and this is one of those great Otto Preminger productions from 1967. Just Otto was one of those guys who just
the man.
He tackled it all head on. Really did a great job.
He was one of the guys who helped bring down the production code.
I know. Great performances here. Michael Caine, Jane Fonda, Faye Dunaway, Burgess Meredith. All takes place in Georgia. It really that is a hard-hitting, fantastic film, and I'm so glad that they found that. It's John Philip Law is in it. It's a great cast.
John Philip Sousa?
John Philip Law. Rudolph Maté, a director who doesn't get enough credit, I don't think, did Union Station with William Holden and Barry Fitzgerald in 1950. This is another one of those hard-boiled, tough-talking crime thrillers that really needs to get more attention. Really, really nicely done. That's a great transfer, by the way. Such Good Friends is another Otto Preminger production. They're really getting the Otto Preminger stuff out. This is from the early 1970s, and it is not quite Otto Preminger's strongest material. Otto Preminger is not great with comedies, and this one means to be funny, but it should be, I don't know. It's kind of the wrong material for him, but it's okay. Elaine May ghost wrote the screenplay. 4 more here real quickly before I turn this back over to Mark. Rope of Sand, produced by Hal Wallace and directed by William Dieterle from 1949. It has a great performance by Burt Lancaster and Peter Lorre, Paul Henry. It's missing. It's got everything except for Bogart, frankly, but it's right in that same vein. Appointment with Danger, Alan Ladd and Phyllis Calvert. This is another classic from 1951. Good, solid, hard-boiled movie with an unbelievable... Alan Ladd is great in this, but Harry Morgan, very young, and yet he still looks old. Isn't that funny? Directed by Lewis Allen, by the way.
Lewis Allen!
Your dude. Your
my step-grandfather.
That's right. Hell of a director, that guy.
Yeah,
really.
The Uninvited.
Hell of a director. Charlton Heston, not at his best, but close in Dark City, another William Dieterle film.
Not the Dark City with Kiefer Sutherland and the Alex Proyas film.
No,
which I love.
No, this is a 1951 noir. And Charlton Heston, he can noir it up with the best of them. I like him better, obviously, in the period stuff and in the later stuff, Planet of the Apes.
I like him better as a Mexican in Touch of Evil.
It's the best. It really is. It's just that would never fly today, that casting. But somehow it's Wells, and
which is worse,
got the tracking shot, and it's the thing.
Which is worse, Charlton Heston as a Mexican or Mickey Rooney as a Chinese person?
Oh, Mickey Rooney. That's far worse. Mr. Gorightry, I protest. The teeth and the whole thing. And then a Robert Altman film from a quiet period when he was doing very small, fringy stuff, right? When he was doing things like the Nixon thing and all this, and Streamers, right? This is Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean. But this is the movie.
Good.
You know what? This is the movie that let us know that Cher can act. She acts here with Sandy Dennis and Karen Black. Sandy Dennis, of course, getting a little bit kind of, no longer the sweet young thing that she was in the 60s. But here Cher is like, wow, she can really act. And then suddenly she's on everybody's lips as a real actress. And she's doing things like, Silkwood and Moonstruck and winning Oscars. And it's all because Altman was willing to take a chance on her in this little production of a small New York stage play and about a bunch of women who basically work in a diner, and it's pretty great. It's a film that ages, I think, very well. And then lastly, one more Otto Preminger film. This is one of the most kind of notorious Otto Preminger films from the era, 1968's Skidoo, with Jackie Gleason and a ton of other people, including Groucho Marx playing God.
Damn right.
Better believe it. Skidoo is a film that people either love or hate. It is a completely 60s movie. It is totally dated.
It's very not Otto Preminger-y.
It's not the least bit Otto Preminger.
Because you think of
no.
like, Anatomy of a Murder or Moon is Blue.
It's
or
crazy. Mickey Rooney is in this. I mean, everybody is in this thing. Frankie Avalon, Carol Channing, Burgess Meredith. It even includes, believe it or not, this is the weirdest thing. This is the only movie that Cesar Romero, Burgess Meredith, and Frank Gorshin all appear in together that's not a Batman movie. Isn't that weird?
Directed by Otto Preminger.
Who played Mr. Freeze. It's like 4 Batman villains are involved in one movie.
That must be how he got in. That must be how he got attached to that.
Well, this is 1968. It's right. It's right after.
Yeah.
It's right when the show is winding down. So I mean, Skidoo is crazy. It is a crazy movie. Jackie Gleason plays this gangster who comes out of retirement, and he's going to try to kill Mickey Rooney. And where it goes from there is just a mind-blowing bunch of weirdness.
Speaking of mind-blowing weirdness, Wade, as we come in for a landing on this week's show, we have the complete 3rd season of Dallas, the Dallas reboot. Now, the funny thing about this is that
this is the end of it.
Well, what's funny is that when they pressed the DVD, they didn't know it was the end, so we have the complete 3rd season printed onto the box, and yet there it is at the bottom in a sticker.
The final season, because they canceled it because Larry Hagman's not on it. Nobody cares anymore.
Exactly. So there you go. This show, you know what? Here's the thing. It was a nice try. I expected a lot worse. But in the end, it's just too 70s or too 80s, too dated. Also coming in for a landing is Glee, finally, which really is running on fumes and has way outlived its cultural usefulness. The complete 5th season is on DVD. Of course, the final season is airing now on Fox. And I don't know what to say about this show. I feel like it was a phenomenon at the time, and then it lasted like 3 seasons too long. Boardwalk Empire, the complete 5th season. This, of course, is also calling it a day. This show, directed a lot of it by Terrence Winter, who, of course, wrote Wolf of Wall Street. This show was a good show, but it never really got never got the conversation going like some of these other HBO shows, And plus, the lead singer, the lead character's name is Ducky, and I just can't handle that.
Yeah.
I just want to spend 5 years with a guy named Ducky.
Pretty in pink, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a beautiful Blu-ray because it's a beautifully shot show. A lot of audio commentaries, including director Tim Van Patten Wade, whose father was
the Dick Van Patten.
Yeah, who starred in Eight Is Enough.
Eight Is Enough.
Who knew?
One of the Van Patten boys was the Bionic Boy on the $6 Million Man. You remember that? Was it Jimmy Van Patten?
I can't
remember. There's like 10 of them. The one that was a tennis player for a moment.
You made that up.
No, it's true. He's a Bionic Boy. But he didn't do it because he had bionic appendages. He did it because he was like having some weird drug or something and it had an adverse effect.
Yeah, because they couldn't make him bionic. I mean, how many members of the family could they blow up?
Well, there are only 3 people who have bionic limbs. That's, obviously Steve Austin, Jamie Summers, and then Barney Hiller, who was the second bionic man who was stronger than Steve Austin. And then because he had 2 bionic arms and he won in that arm wrestling contest in that bar, and it really humiliated Steve. Do you remember that? I was so upset. I'm like, there's no way.
Thank God I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
Looking is a new HBO show about 3 30-something gay guys living in San Francisco. This show has a real opportunity to kind of delve into what it's
Barney
like.
Hiller was a race car driver, by the way. It was a race car accident, and that's why they had to replace his legs and his arms.
You made that up.
Look it up.
Oh, no, I won't. Has an interesting show looking because they have a chance to really delve into what it's like to be a gay person in the modern era. Now that gay rights are sort of starting to, they're pushing the rock up the hill. The Supreme Court's going to take on gay marriage now, and I think generally speaking, I mean it's there now. But I think if it lasts for another couple seasons, they could really do some interesting stuff. Season 2 of Looking does premiere this month, so Looking, interesting stuff. Girls. This is the 3rd season of Girls on Blu-ray. This show mixes about 20% really interesting truth about relationships and being a young woman in the modern world with 80% of just insufferability. There's something about this show that annoys the crap out of me.
I can't stand the show. I appreciate what it's trying to do, but it's the worst.
And the thing is that as members of the As members of the LA Film Critics Association, as Wade's daughter takes another bow.
Oh, that's too funny.
Freaking kid.
The best age.
We realized that we had given Lena Dunham our New Generation Award for Tiny Furniture. And we gave her a New Generation Award for Tiny Furniture because we thought that she would grow up and make amazing movies, and in the end, she goes right to TV.
She goes to TV and takes her clothes off way too much.
Exactly. The Showtime show House of Lies features the great Don Cheadle and the whatever Kristen Bell. This is the third season on DVD. Don't know how this thing lasted 3 seasons. Don't know why it's lasting any more seasons.
Don Cheadle, that's how.
I know. He's awesome. But it's also directed by Matthew Carnahan, who's pretty talented guy. Anyway, so look, I don't find the show that funny. It's like a send-up of like corporate America, and I just don't think the show ever really can. Show doesn't come together for me. It's almost like when it grows up, it wants to be an HBO show. Kind of how I look at it.
Nice.
Season 4 of Little House on the Prairie, the classic show from the 80s that starred Michael Landon and Sarah Gilbert and a bunch of other people. Wade loves this show. I don't get it. Something else I don't get is Kevin Hart. I'm not on the Kevin Hart bandwagon yet. I don't get it. I guess he's funny.
You know
People
what?
like him.
Kevin Hart is a hugely talented guy, but he needs to start making better choices. He does. He really needs to start making better choices because he's going to become Martin Lawrence in a second if he's not careful. He'll be yesterday's comic as soon as somebody just as funny comes along, and he's got to be really careful. You know what he needs? I mean, if we're talking about comics of that ilk, right? You're talking about specifically black comics who do a particular kind of comedy. He needs to do what Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy did before. Richard Pryor, at a certain point, you know what he did? He started doing stuff like Silver Streak. He just started doing the stuff with Gene Wilder, right? That and most importantly, he did the prison film.
Stir Crazy.
Not
Straight Time.
Straight Time. Thank you. Straight Time was a big deal. Straight Time was a really big deal because he said, "I'm a legitimate actor. I can do this. I can play straight. I can be this guy. I can be hard and I can be interesting. And I can do something else." That changed the whole thing. That was a Paul Schrader thing, and it completely changed everything. Eddie Murphy did 48 Hours. And 48 Hours, yes, he's funny and all that. But you know what? That is a violent cop film. It's a buddy cop film, but it was like the first buddy cop film. It changed the landscape. Kevin Hart's got to do that. He's got to find that movie.
Well, what you're saying is he has to find a white A-list actor to star.
Not necessarily. But he needs to find serious material, not something that looks.
It could be seriously funny.
It could
not
be funny.
Necessarily serious, but it could be like a good
Beverly Hills Cop, right? Same thing. I mean, Eddie Murphy made Beverly Hills Cop. That's not a shticky film. That's like a crime movie. In fact, Eddie Murphy, as funny as he is, frankly, Judge Reinhold has many stuff that's just as funny. Right. He's got a lot of stuff that's really funny in that movie. I mean, he's almost the comedian, and Eddie is sometimes the straight man. Eddie's got like 3 or 4 moments where he walks in and he does a big thing, right? It's like, hey, Phil, he does the whole thing in the restaurant, or he'll, like in the banana in the tailpipe, right? He's got a few of those lines, but the rest of it, he's playing that part straight. He really is. And Kevin Hart needs to find that part. He needs to say, look, if you want to put me in any movie, I can be that guy. I don't have to only be the Kevin Hart persona. And then people broaden their concept of him, and he will have a much longer career as a result.
Coming soon, Kevin Hart writing and directing JoJo Dancer, Your Life is Calling 2.
That would be great. Seriously.
Season 8, not just Season 8, by the way, but Season 08 for some reason on the box of NYPD Blue. This is one of the seasons where they brought in Rick Schroeder, and he joins previous cast members Dennis Franz and Kim Delaney and Andrea Thompson. By this point, the show's on autopilot. It's just another cop of the week, whatever case of the week show. Not really into it at that point. It was definitely had its heyday earlier on when it was showing Dennis Franz's butt and making news. But if you're a completist, Season 8 is there for you.
And wrapping the show out at the very end here, Downton Abbey Season 5 is out on Blu-ray from PBS, and I have not watched it because I'm just getting to the end of Season 4. I don't want to spoil this for myself. I'm a little bit behind. I have a child. Makes it a little tough, but...
you are a child,
man. Right? What I love is the thing that they have that accompanies it, which is the Manners of Downton Abbey, which is with Alistair Bruce, who is the historical advisor, who's the guy that makes sure that all the pins are correct and all the like the suits are period perfect, and that wasn't designed by so and so until this such and such a year, and nobody would ever put that china with that silverware, and they wouldn't do that. And it's just he's the guy that steps in on set and says that's a historical mistake. Like, he keeps everybody honest. He's the guy that makes it look so good. And this is terrific. This is a lot of fun, and I just thoroughly enjoyed this. This is just fabulous. It lets you kind of see how the sausage is made in a certain sense. And then a couple of music Blu-rays real quickly. Some of the parts is the documentary history of Genesis. And what a great band, and what an amazing story. I mean,
They were almost two bands. They were a prog rock band, and then, like around the 80s, or early 80s, they became a pop band.
I grew up with the Phil Collins Genesis, and I also grew up loving Peter Gabriel. The Peter Gabriel Genesis was not part of my experience. So, I mean, it's amazing. It's just an amazing history. It's just fantastic, and the sound is great, and this is it. Some of the parts is for Genesis fans for sure. And if you're a country fan of Trace Adkins,
lame.
Trace Adkins Live Country.
Lame.
Well, you know what? It's good. I mean, I like Trace Adkins. I don't love him, but it's fair enough. A lot of good songs in here. Songs about me, Big Time, Every Light in the House.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies Love Country Boys.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
That's the one where they sing about
ladies loving
and
country.
They probably throw maybe a reference to beer in there, too?
Exactly. I left...
trucks? How about trucks? There were trucks in there?
Here's one. I left something turned on at home. That's great. It's a great title.
It's like these country titles, they're like parodies of themselves.
Honky Tonk Badonkadonk. It's great. Trace Adkins is a lot of fun. Anyway, so that's out there. That is a DVD that comes in a Blu-ray package, so don't be completely thrown by that. But it has fantastic DTS audio, so that is first rate. All right. With that, we are done. We will see you next week. Remember, send us an email with law in the subject line and your name and address if you want to be chosen as one of the 3 people who receives Zara's Law. There's no expiration on this. We'll give it about a week or so, and then we'll pick 3 winners. So give it a week, and we'll pick 3 winners, and we'll send you your Zara's Law DVD. Otherwise,
Oscar pool.
Oscar pool. Join the Oscar pool, and you want to go to funofficepools.com. The group is the Digigods with a space, and then the password is Lars von Trier, all lowercase, one word. And join the Oscar pool, and we're putting together a nice swag bag for you, whoever wins. We'll see you next week.